few years ago, a television show captured America's imagination like never before. With a powerful style of storytelling combining outrageous plot lines, dramatic plot twists, and riveting over-the-top characters, Americans became addicted to it, with millions actually thinking it was real. Obviously, it's not. There's no way something this insane could ever actually be real. It's a fictional TV show called American Emperor. Like Succession, Game of Thrones, and Breaking Bad, all rolled into one. Each week, this podcast goes behind the scenes to break down each episode, talking to insiders and fans to bring you everything you need to know. This is Talking Trump, the American Emperor Aftershow. This week, we're heading for the final pitch for campaigns, democracy, our future, you name it. The Trump character tells Detroit how he really feels.
I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on our list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands.
Threatens military action against his opponents.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
And calls the insurrection a day of love.
Hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, but that was a day of love.
In other words, sweet talking his base. Questions persist, however, with the election just around the corner. Will this guy have enough time to insult everyone? Meanwhile, the Kamala character goes into enemy territory for an interview with Fox News to get her message out to two important groups of potential voters. The Fox News audience, who we don't know if she reached, and people who love seeing people interrupted, where she hit a home run.
21. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the right...
And the richest man on earth goes to a field in Pennsylvania to jump up and down for MAGAs while wearing a sports jacket over a t-shirt, leading to an important question. Is money overrated? Why bother being the richest man in the world? Seriously, if I had a positive balance in my checking account, I wouldn't be doing any of this. This guy has a live-in dentist. Dude, find a house in Hawaii. Open up a brewski, chill. A dizzying episode with storylines introduced and resolved at a frantic pace. This is Talking Trump, the American Emperor Aftershow.
Get that fat pig off the couch. Tell him to go and vote for Trump. He's going to save our country.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm Christopher Lansing. I'm joined by author, filmmaker, and pop culture critic Tom Robb. We got a lot to get to this week, but I got to tell you this quick story. Over the weekend, I was at this festival that had a lot of food trucks. We went to this awesome bratwurst truck, the worst of the worst. I'm about to make my order, and the guy in front of me sees me. He goes, I absolutely get the fact that everything that we see with Trump is all part of a TV show and that it's not real. So my eyes lit up. I go, oh, finally. The second it comes out of his mouth, Tom, the people in the bratwurst truck grab the guy, pull him in the truck, and they speed away.
Wow. Not sure what to make of that.
I was looking at the local news here and no reports about anything. I'll keep checking. I'm going to go on that app that tells you about neighborhood crime that drives old people crazy.
Oh, right. Exactly. Next door neighbor.
Let's get to the show. Another phenomenal episode. Now, this week's episode, which focused a lot on public appearances with our characters, especially the Trump character, in the world where the show is set in, the election is about 3 weeks away, and writers and producers are working very hard to constantly be elevating the Trump character's madness. What's behind that, first of all?
I think it's just good old-fashioned storytelling. They're upping the jeopardy and upping the insanity.
Well, this week at one of his rallies, he had a very strange stop down. Basically, this was bizarre to see as a fan of the show, but also to think about as a, in the mind of a showrunner, of a producer, of a writer. He basically stopped down in the middle of the episode to listen to music and start swaying with the crowd for 40 minutes.
Let's not do any more questions. Let's just listen to music. Let's make it into a music. Who the hell wants to hear questions, right? And let's listen to Pavarotti sing Ave Maria. Can you hear that? How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Why are writers and producers working so hard to heighten his madness? And what are we as an audience supposed to take away from this music episode?
First of all, I think that our principal actor is somebody who imagines himself, I've always heard, musical and with an operatic singing voice. So he agitates to get a singing role all the time. If you remember, he's humming around the periphery of these songs the entire time, and you can hear a sort of adequate, not totally tone-deaf voice. So he got that. Also, being a writer, an episode like this requires very little writing. You need only say the Trump character minces and glissades and walks back and forth on the stage, and then you've got 40 pages written.
So you're saying it's another case of what happens occasionally, lazy writing.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me ask you this, though. The music licensing department, they have to be sweating bullets at this point because they're playing a lot of music. I guess if you're playing Ave Maria, we don't really have to worry about the copyright necessarily. But I guess it's the publishing of that particular version of it that's sung by Pavarotti. That would probably cost them a lot of money.
I would think. I know the show has a huge music budget, but this goes over the top.
The character that they had with the Trump character on this particular episode during the music interlude was Kristi Noem. She was kind of moderating this event. Do you think they're trying to rehabilitate her and bring her back? Because you'll see characters come back and moderate town halls with the Trump character. They did it with Huckabee Sanders a couple of weeks ago.
Right. I think they're going to continue to do it, especially with the Noem character who, the fan base believes is hot.
Well, she is hot, but they did take that unfortunate turn when she murdered the dog, which we've covered extensively on this podcast.
Yeah, we gave it its due. It was newsworthy, but it worked for them as drama. Just a little prediction. I think she'll be killing more animals.
Interesting. She is a very attractive woman, and maybe the showrunners are saying, hey, maybe we got rid of this lady too quickly because we really haven't replaced her. They tried to replace her with the good-looking people that they've tried to bring in, the Alina Habas, the other people that they've kind of brought in and out. They've never really stuck, so maybe they are trying to bring her back. Any predictions of what animal she might kill next?
I think it's going to be something exotic, like a giraffe or a zebra or something like that, maybe on a publicity visit to a zoo. You
mean she'll go to the San Diego Zoo or something, see the giraffe pull out some sort of high caliber weapon and just take it out?
Exactly. Or a SeaWorld type thing with a manatee, or some sort of endangered dolphin.
Well, if you're going to put Vegas numbers on it, I would go with the crazy underdog. I'm going to say a narwhal, and maybe I'll get 10,000 to 1, but if it pays off, I'm in the money.
Exactly. And that a sort of statistical staple, a popular thing of crime podcasts, is a hot murderess. Not something that's bankable there.
100% on that. Let's talk about the rest of that week that the Trump character had. He was doing a lot of public appearances. One of them was on a show. We never talk about this character, and she's really been a real solid citizen as far as the show goes. During a fascinating scene with Maria Bartiromo, that journalist character, the Trump character went and told her that he would turn the U.S. military on various American citizens. He said he'd turn the U.S. military on Democrats. He actually named one guy in particular, this Adam Schiff character.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. We have a lot of bad people. But when you look at Shifty Schiff and some of the others, they are, to me, the enemy from within. I think Nancy Pelosi is an enemy from within.
First of all, do you think the Bartiromo character has been one of the most underappreciated characters on the show?
Yes, I think anytime you get a vicious right-wing economist, people's ears prick up.
She also brings to the table a lot of craziness.
I wonder if you share in this. I'm not a pervert, I'm just Italian. I said, what? Mr. President, you've said many times that this election was rigged, that there was much fraud, and the facts are on your side. To all my Twitter followers out there who have a lot to say this morning. They have a lot of questions. I quote Julia Roberts. They're called boobs, Ed.
Maria Bartiromo has been there solidly being insane for the run of the show. And then people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they get the headlines for being crazy. But Bartiromo, that character, batshit insane for years. They go to her for all this exposition. They go to her for the quick hit of the Trump character saying something crazy. I think that she's been cheated for a long time out of a Best Supporting Actress nomination for an Emmy.
I agree. Some people object to this sort of Italian-American trope of crazy people. You know, you have Bartiromo, you have Jeannie Pirro, you have Giuliani, truly insane Italian-Americans. And I'm waiting for somebody to object.
Yeah, that's a great point. You hear rumblings about that. The Italian-American community is often dismissed. As a member of that community, when you go and complain about the Giulianis, about the Pirros, they say, yeah, oh, did you just come from the Soprano office? Did you just come from the Godfather office? You criminal. It's overwhelming. So it's very hard to fight for positive reinforcements. We thought we turned the corner because we were promised a fair and beautiful depiction of a middle-class plumber who is building a business with his brother, and it turned out that was the fucking Luigi brothers in the latest Mario Brothers freaking movie that came out a couple of years ago. So it's an uphill battle.
Well, it's been going on since Sacco and Vanzetti. So what are you going to do?
Another appearance that the Trump character made was he visited. They had him out of his element a lot this week, trying to reach out to people, and then they also had those appearances go horribly wrong. One of them was in the Bronx when he showed up at a barber shop and basically just sat there. He didn't get his hair cut. He didn't really interact with the locals all that much. And also, he's spending time very close to the election in New York, a state where, according to the way the show is laid out, he's not going to win New York. So why is he spending this valuable time in New York? What are they saying about that? What is the Trump character saying about spending time in New York where he could be out on the road battling for the quote unquote election? Are they saying he just wants to come home?
Well, this is a character who they've designed as a sort of outer borough social wannabe, always rejected for being uncool, tacky, weird suits, nouveau riche, golden appliances. And I think his desire to be accepted by A-list society has never waned as a character.
You think it's a driving force in the show?
Yes, I think it's something we see in the Gilded Age. It's something we saw in Downton Abbey. Thwarted social ambition is definitely a character quality that we see being slapped down repeatedly. He wants to be a Fifth Avenue guy. It's LaFrac City on the way to the airport.
When he's depicted dealing with in a community of minorities in the Bronx, do you think that they have pathos for him?
I think that the more insane zealots that follow him think he doesn't hate them. But privately, you know, we've seen these scenes where he paces back and forth and uses every ethnic epithet there is.
Yeah, he detests them behind closed doors. He detests them, obviously. But we'll get to this later. But he married an immigrant. There's a lot of contradictions.
He's a web of contradictions, and that's what makes him such a fascinating character.
Now, the Trump character also went to this other town hall held by the Spanish-speaking network Univision, which was a total disaster. In there, he faced a few questions. Take a look at this one.
What happened during January 6th and the fact that you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. I'm curious how people so close to you and your administration no longer want to support you, so why would I want to support you?
Hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns. And when I say we, these are people that walked down. This was a tiny percentage of the overall, which nobody sees and nobody shows. But that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, as you can see right there, he refers to the January 6th date, which was the season finale of season 1, the riots at the Capitol, as a day of love. And he uses the term we when he's describing rioters as if he's part of that movement. What are your thoughts on that?
It's what the character believes. I mean, he's called My Lai, a tailgate party. He's called Kristallnacht, a family get-together.
I believe he referred to it once as that night out on the town.
Exactly, Sparkle Night. So I think it's meant to underscore the way he likes to play down events that are to his benefit, that are essentially violent, militaristic, and full of carnage.
Of the many public appearances of this episode this week, they finally had one where he went to a town hall, this time held by the fictional station Fox, which has been positioned as this very pro-Trump character network. By the way, I think still writers and producers have struggled to make this seem realistic. It's just way too over the top still. Something so obvious and so not subtle in their promotion of the Trump character would never exist in real life. Anyway, he goes to this Fox town hall. He calls himself the father of IVF.
I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF.
And then he starts talking to women. They did a very clever thing casting wise. They brought in all these like Stepford Wives type characters, and he's just telling them that he'll protect them. He's telling them that he'll take care of them. They don't have anything to worry about. He's being reassuring to essentially these human mannequins. What was your take on that as far as it goes, the messaging to women who are watching the show?
I think it's writing this character as trying to be all things to all people. It's not his first attempt at trying to own a subject. He's had some misfires when he wanted to be the Duke of HPV. And there are numerous cases of this in the show. And I think they've built to a point where they think this demented character envisions himself as both a medical doctor and a sort of savior of women.
Yeah, and he's had problems with conveying this message of taking care of women. Remember, they spent a whole episode in season 1, which I actually feel like if you're going to rank all the episodes, this was among the worst episodes. Remember, he tried to become the leader of the fictional land known as Paradise Island, which is where Wonder Woman was born and trained. That island, that obviously mythical island that was inhabited all by women, warriors. He wanted to go there, and he insisted for probably 45 minutes of that hour episode that he was going to be the new president of Paradise Island. And that's a storyline that went nowhere.
Right. He's tried this a number of times. He's obsessed with Wonder Woman and the Bionic Woman. There was a nod to it during his dance where he did a sort of spinning motion in an attempt to disappear. It's all part of the same drive to have this character be all things to all people. When he said he was the doula of American freedom, he tries to use feminine dog whistle words to capture the female vote.
Of course, famously, he referred to himself a few times as Liberty's wet nurse, which just turns everybody off and just evokes a terrible image.
And also a sort of medieval image, not understandable to most voters under 75.
Agreed. Well, a lot of public appearances by him this week and a lot of questions raised and a lot of the madness confirmed and shown in different ways. But let's move on to another series of quick public appearances made by his opponent in the show, the Harris character. This week, at the same time the Trump character was chewing up scenery all over the place, they send the Harris character into enemy territory to face off against, again, the cartoonishly over-the-top Fox network in an interview with this journalist character that they bring out, who's kind of like a half wimp, half animatronic figure, this Brett Baer character. Let's take a look at some of that exchange.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, may I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish,
You
please.
have the right...
Do you think that by putting the Harris character in this hostile territory, are they putting more pressure on the Trump character? What are the writers and producers doing here?
I think they want to counterbalance the Trump character's charisma with someone, and they're trying to beef up this character so she isn't so automatic and wooden and ultimately flat. So they want to increase the jeopardy. They want a counterpoint that's a exciting adversary. So they're going to put her in challenging situations. I know that they have, when I was backstage, they had a lion tamer's outfit for her, and she was going to go and face some wild animals. I think they want her diving with sharks. They want her to be a daredevil.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting to me because traditionally, lion tamer, I understand that they give the lion tamer a whip, but, they really fall short when they get, in the preparation of the lion tamer, because the next thing they often give the lion tamer, Tom, is a chair. So you're going up against this feral beast, the king of the jungle, and they're like, oh, here's a whip. And you're like, okay, maybe this will help. And then they go, oh, here's a chair. Well, one thing that happened that almost never happens, and again, I think it's to announce her presence. They had the Bret Baier character, the journalist, admit that he made, quote unquote, a mistake post-interview that kind of really boosts the Harris character, because she goes in there, she calls him out on that mistake.
Bret, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
He didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
And then he comes back and basically with his tail between his legs, he says that he did make a mistake by rolling a clip. Take a look at this.
I did make a mistake, and I want to say that mistake. When I called for a soundbite, I was expecting a piece of the enemy from within, from Maria Bartiromo's interview, to be tied to the piece from your town hall, Harris, where you asked the former president about the enemy from within.
They never have the Fox network people backtrack. I think this is a major sign that there's a rumble coming.
I think it's a major departure, and maybe they want to be a kinder, gentler image. So they're putting wimpier, more deferential statements up there.
Let's move on, though, to the emergence of a new character that we've been seeing a lot lately. This Elon Musk character that they've started to bring around the Trump character, bringing him to rallies, having him showing off, really just kind of giving him a spotlight to kind of be energetic and kind of evil and kind of goofy. This is a character who is written as the richest man in the world, yet they have him showing up and hanging out with the same Trump MAGA people that the Trump character is cursed with. For the Trump character, it's a curse to be around the people. For Musk, it's more of a choice. I'm throwing a bunch of questions at you. Does the show need another evil billionaire? What are they saying about materialism? What are they saying about money by inserting this character in such a large way?
I think it's a way to get that lifestyles of the rich and famous thing. Somebody who sails in on a sort of platinum rug flying from the sky, who can afford anything in the world, from an army of robots that sort of serve his every need to being able to order meals rocketed in from every place. I mean, I just think it's opulence. It's what everybody likes about the Trump character, and why the electorate in this series seems enthralled. Yeah. They have a lottery mentality, as often people do in these shows, which is, I don't want to be taxed when I become a 200 billionaire. It's aspirational. It's one of the things that makes this show desirable for fans.
It is a ridiculous character because there's a scene where he's scheduling himself to go to a rally and he looks at his date book and he goes, oh, Tuesday, I literally have to send a rocket into space. Wednesday, I'm free. I can go hang out with toothless MAGA people at some rally in some field in Pennsylvania. Oh, no, Wednesday, I'm chairing this board for this entrepreneurial purpose. Oh, but no, Friday, I'm free again. I can go hang out with the great unwashed who don't have teeth and yell about trans people in sports or wokeness. Even though, you know, I have 200 billion with a B dollars in the bank, I'll find time to do that. It just seems it's ridiculous. Is it believable? Is it comedy? What's going on there?
I think, and I know this might not be what you want to hear, but this is another attempt at highlighting an underserved issue, which is the issue of severe autism, which is why they have this character constantly telling MAGA people June 16th, 1624 was a Wednesday.
He did make that point in the middle of his speeches. He'll speak about these grievances that he suffered as a billionaire that we all suffer. And then he will point out certain dates like that from history, Mary Lou Henner-esque. And then also your autism point does also illuminate for me why they always have this character appearing on stage and he's wearing a T-shirt and a sports coat over it like he's a comic from the early 80s.
Yeah, exactly. And the Mary Lou Henner thing, yeah, that's another talent he has to say, in 1972 at snack time in nursery school, we had raisins on this particular day and time. But remembering every second of his existence, even though they're quite mundane and uninteresting.
Well, I understand, too, that you saw an earlier screening before the edit, and a lot of this ended up on the cutting room floor when he started talking about all the money that he has, the billions and billions of dollars. And then he said, if you don't believe me, and he started rattling off the serial numbers on the different bills.
Oh, exactly. And the dates and signatures. I mean, I understand that over 100 billion of his dollars have been converted to pennies and are kept in the giant airplane hangar, and he knows the dates and numbers on all those.
Yeah, fascinating character, at times a silly, ridiculous character, something to watch as we head towards the next 3 weeks as they push up to this election, if it occurs.
Not a bad sidekick at all.
All right, when we come back, we're going to answer your questions. That's right, the listener email section, aka Talking Trump Talkback segment when we return. This is Talking Trump, the American Emperor After Show. Hello, Talking Trump, the American Emperor After Show listeners. Thanks so much for listening and subscribing. We'll get right back with more show in just a minute, but before we do, just wanted to remind some of you that right here on the show at this very moment is an excellent place for a sponsor to run an ad. Just reach out to us on Instagram at American Emperor After Show or by email at AmericanEmperorPod@gmail.com and get your message or product out and associated with this amazing podcast. Hopefully there'll be some space left for you, BetterHelp or ZipRecruiter, because the high-powered sponsors are already claiming their territory. One of the most popular and controversial characters to ever appear on American Emperor, his meteoric rise and subsequent downfall are the stuff of legend. Along the way, this scene stealer was one of the most loved and hated characters of all time. Often regarded as the craziest asshole to ever appear on the show, his journey was rife with humor and raw emotion. Now, for a limited time, you can have all his best moments in one place. American Emperor presents the best of Rudy Giuliani. Relive all the amazing moments from the highest highs to his ultimate downfall. Be there for this.
Let's have trial by combat.
And whatever the fuck this is.
Take it up. Former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani. No way.
Be there for the hair dye, the shaving in the airport, and this. Come along for the ride and bear witness as we listen to some of the dumbest things said by Donald Trump's mouthpiece. Hits like, truth isn't truth.
A conversation
truth is truth.
about...
I don't mean to go like...
it isn't truth. Truth isn't truth.
Relive all the amazing moments and see how actor Guy Benecourt's amazing and unforgettable performance as Rudy Giuliani won him the coveted Interpretación Masculine con Prix Schmuck award at the Cannes Film Festival. Be there for the falls and the farts.
View is they didn't bother to interview a single witness. He'd be disciplined for that. First of all,
American Emperor presents the best of Rudy Giuliani. Order now and also get the best of Don Jr., which is not that good. All right, welcome back to Talking Trump, the American Emperor After Show. I'm with author, director, and pop culture critic Tom Robb. Time now for a segment where we answer questions from you. This is Talking Trump, Talk Back. By the way, if you want to send us a question, hit us up on Instagram at American Emperor After Show. The first question comes to us from Rebecca Conroy of Madison, Wisconsin, and she says, of all the existing cast members, who would you most like to see a romantic storyline between? I'm going to take this one first. I'm going to say I would like to see a, what do you call those, May to September type of thing with the old character of Rudy Giuliani and this young JD Vance. I think that there could be a bittersweet, a lot of tugging at the heartstrings, a lot of romance and self-hate involved in a whole lot of grudge fucking.
I agree completely. The sort of Judi Dench kind of drama of late in life love.
Completely repressed for decades, and the Giuliani character realizing he's too old physically to manifest his love, and it just kind of being like a tragic moment in a sense.
I saw that as a late in life love between Steve Bannon and Gretchen Whitmer. The one that intrigues me most, and I think the American people, would be a Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene sort of hot love story.
Yeah, because they're both similar at the same time. The things that they would be attracted to each other for are the things that they despise in each other and despise in themselves.
A lot of fighting, a lot of makeup sex, a lot of hate sex.
And not a little bit of gunplay.
Gunplay, exactly.
Thank you for that question, Rebecca. Our next question comes to us from Kyle Remington of Concord, New Hampshire. And he asks, rank Trump's top 3 children and in-laws in order of who you think he hates the most. And conversely, give us one that he hates the least.
That's interesting. I think he hates Eric and Don Jr. the most.
Who edges who out between those two?
I think Eric edges out Don Jr. The character is known to use corporal punishment on both of them. You know, they're men. I think he's got a soft spot for the deformed one who's 7'6". And,
yes.
I think we know that he has a very soft spot for Ivanka.
Yeah, well, to the point where I think they had to remove her from the show because she hasn't made a lot of appearances in season 2 because of that. I think like the actor himself manifested feelings. We don't know the full story, but it doesn't look like it turned out well.
No, I think it was considered distasteful to even the most ardent MAGA fan.
I agree with you that I think he hates Eric a little bit more than he hates Don Jr. And I think the reason is because Don Jr. every once in a while might be able to score him some sort of like drug or something. So he's like, you're a little bit better than Eric. I think he despises Eric because he looks at Eric and he just sees not only all the things wrong with himself, but he also sees, and don't discount this, all the things wrong with Eric. So that's like a double whammy.
Exactly.
And then as far as I agree that he has an unnatural favoritism towards Ivanka, but I also say he has a lot of fondness for the character of the Lara Trump, who I think is married to one of the sons. The show keeps messing that up. I think they present her as married to Eric Trump, but also at the same time there was a storyline where she was married to Don Jr. We don't know for sure who she was married to, but because she kind of on paper kind of resembles Ivanka, blonde hair, thin, I believe that he has a lot of fondness for her and he gives her a lot of like positions of responsibility.
No, exactly. I saw a sneak preview of a scene where she's invited in to discuss policy and there's a spin the bottle game set up.
All right, stick with us, people. When we come back, we'll close out the show with a couple of predictions for what to look for next week. More Talking Trump, the American Emperor After Show when we return. Welcome back, everyone. This is Talking Trump, the American Emperor After Show. Right now, before we close out the show, a couple of quick predictions for coming weeks. Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. What do you think we'll be seeing in a few upcoming episodes?
Kennedy replaces Vance.
Wow. They're gonna make that change this close.
Yeah. Kennedy replaces Vance. And Vance takes a role on Curb.
Wow. Very interesting. Does the Kennedy replacement, does that right the ship? What effect does that have?
A little rough water. I can't tell you yet, but it might change the entire game.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I'm going to say, I'm not going to go as far as to say this was a misstep by the show, but a couple of weeks ago, they did this big scene where the Trump character went to the Arlington National Cemetery and caused a big ruckus. ended up fighting one of the attendants at the cemetery. It was supposed to make more of a splash than it actually did. So I'm going to say that the Trump character will increase his presence at not just like places of renown like the Arlington National Cemetery. He's going to go to just cemeteries, and he's going to start to interrupt just regular people and physically assaulting them. You're going to see a lot of fight scenes. It's just going to be a new kind of thing that the show is going to try to organically grow, almost as a social media hashtag, where he just goes to cemeteries and just beats up people who are at the cemetery paying respects to others. I think that it's going to get them to move from one cemetery to another. And I think that cemeteries, as you know, because you're an insider in television, is an untapped market when it comes to advertising. You never see commercials for cemeteries, okay? And here you are inventing an entire new avenue of revenue for the show. And this is how you spend money and get money to hire these big heavy hitter guns that you come in there. The budget people are like, how the hell are we going to pay for this guy who designed the character from Ghostbusters? He only works 11 minutes a day. You know, I got an idea. We have this revenue that we're generating from this advertising partnership with cemeteries. That's how we're going to pay for it.
Also, you have all these blank white spaces. How about an STP sticker on the back of every headstone or something, one of those minions or something? You know, anything you want is there. Plus, the Trump character and Davies, the actor, both think cemeteries are hilarious. They think they're figures of fun. Davies used to go into the cemetery at Normandy and sort of mock, whimper, I could have done more, much like that opening scene in Saving Private Ryan.
He blames his alcoholism, but still, that doesn't cover everything for me. But
still, hundreds of thousands of people died. It was a sacred day and a sacred place. To still think it's thigh-slappingly funny, it's questionable. To
say the least. And also, if you read the novelizations, definitely have this. And I think that the backstory of the Trump character has this as well. His parents used to drop him off in cemeteries, the way that another parent might drop a kid off at like a playground or a field, to play with other kids. His parents would just drop him off at the cemetery and say, okay, at 8 o'clock in the morning, be like, okay, I'll be back by 5:30.
Hi, Lloyd Krogan's here for Krogan's Riverside Cemetery, the official East Coast cemetery of American Emperor, with a deal you're just not going to believe. For a limited time, we're offering up to 65% of all plots and headstones if you reserve for a loved one who you think is going to die over the weekend. Now, I'll just tell you, the price is so low because if you don't die over the weekend, well, the money's non-refundable. If you have a loved one you think is ready to go, call the number at the bottom of your screen, reserve your plot, take advantage of this amazing offer. That's Krogan's Riverside Cemetery. Use promo code American Emperor for 65% off. Hey, you want to drop the kids off at the cemetery in the morning, pick them up at the end of the day? Go ahead. Krogan's Riverside Cemetery. Promo code American Emperor. The official East Coast Cemetery of American Emperor. Remember, they must die today. If you have a loved one ready to go, then take advantage of this amazing offer. They must die today.
All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. For Tom Robb, I'm Christopher Lansing. Thanks once again for joining us, and please check us out and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Links are right in the show notes. Thanks for watching. See you next time.